Hey, what up, YouTube? We're gonna do, some headlines, a Kosovo update, Ukraine update, just some other stuff. Just didn't know what to do with myself today, so we're just gonna keep that grind going, keep the news underground pumping. I'm hoping to do more regular, smaller streams and change the format up, but that takes work, and I'm having a kid, so it's in the plans. I got to clean out the garage still. Welcome to the show, though. Big props to DJ Rippermine, Decomposition, full EP. Please check it out. One hell of an EP. 5 minutes of pure ecstasy right here. You gotta love it. 10 people is more than most. Well, I agree, Zia. Thank you so much. Beggars can't be choosers, right? Let's just go ahead and start it off with everyone's favorite Democracy Now! They honestly do the best headlines. They do the best headlines. Suck on it, haters, including me. I've been shitting on Democracy Now! Quite a bit, but find me a better 10 minutes, 12 minutes of headlines. Find me a better 10 solid minutes of headlines in news. You won't find it. You won't find it. Such a shame that Tulsi is hot. I'm not allowed to make comments on a woman's appearance. I can only stare and smile. That's such a comment.
Welcome to
I don't think I'm even allowed to smile.
Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. In Israel, returning Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has inaugurated the most far-right government in the country's history. Netanyahu, who's still facing a corruption trial, was heckled on the floor.
This is going to be the death of thousands of Palestinians. I guarantee it. I'll put money on it. This man can't wait to spill blood. I've never seen a bloodlust. I've never seen a bloodlust quite like this religious right. I mean, he's more extreme than Netanyahu, and now we're in a situation where Netanyahu's the adult in the room. So we're in big trouble. If you're a Palestinian, all I can tell you is strap up. Oh, am I a terrorist? Yeah, okay. Call me whatever the fuck you want. If I was living in Palestine, I'd be strapping the fuck up, because the war is coming. Or they got a gay guy in one of the positions for some cover. Oh man, boy, neoliberalism has really churned the idea of equality really into a disgusting thing, haven't they? They've poisoned the well of equality. That's how bad they are. Oh boy.
Floor of the Knesset as he delivered his agenda earlier today.
We will guarantee Israel's military advantage in the region by unceasing empowerment. The first mission that the members here are yelling, but canceling as if it isn't important, is to make sure that Iran won't annihilate us with nuclear bombs.
Netanyahu's new...
I wonder how they're going to... You think they're going to tie Iran into their genocide of the Palestinian people? They're going to be like, we have to do it because it's wartime or some shit?
Coalition brings together multiple ultra-religious and ultra-nationalist leaders as critics warn democracy is at risk and Palestinian and Arab rights look set to be even further violated. The new government's announced the expansion of illegal West Bank settlements as a top priority.
Yes, this dude.
2022.
This weirdo right here.
Expansion of illegal West Banks.
This guy right here. I can't remember his name at the moment. I know I should know it, but this is the guy in that video waving a gun at the Palestinians. Man, I mean, this guy's bad news. This guy's bad news, man. They're always using the doctrine of constant war, constant existential dread ratios. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So they might feel like they have to. Maybe they'll feel like they have to do both at the same time. Right. If you're going to do one, do the other. But I don't think, I think the bellicose language against Iran you know, is definitely loud, but I don't think they're going to act unless Uncle Sam wants them to, you know, and I don't think Uncle Sam wants them to. So I think they're going to bark really loud, make lots of threats, beat their chest. But at the end of the day, I don't think they're actually going to go for a, you know, like an invasion or like a major attack in Iran. I mean, but you know, who knows though? I mean, who knows, right? I mean, maybe they could feel like, well, we want to, you know, we have America wrapped around our little pinky finger. Maybe we can, you know, force America's hand, you know, by kickstarting the conflict, right? And, you know, shooting down an Iranian plane or something, right? And getting the conflict going. And then maybe from their calculation, it would be the United States has no choice but to get involved. I don't know, though. This is all speculation, right? It's just bro science. But we have a new, even more unstable element in a position of leadership in the Israeli government, and it's very bad news.
Settlements is a top priority. 2022 was already one of the deadliest years for Palestinians in the occupied West Bank and elsewhere in nearly 20 years. Palestinian authorities say over 220 people were killed and over 9,000 injured by Israeli forces in the past year. Outside the Knesset, hundreds of protesters gathered to condemn what they called an illegitimate government. Russia's launched a massive series of missile attacks on cities across Ukraine, with reports of explosions and fresh power outages in cities including Lviv, Kyiv, and Odessa.
These fucking bastards
came after Ukrainian officials called on residents to evacuate the city of Kherson amidst heavy Russian artillery strikes. On Wednesday, 2 explosions rattled a maternity hospital in Kherson, where at least...
I'm sorry, my video game head... Did this look like an unloaded texture to anyone else? I'm sorry, this is wildly inappropriate. But this literally looked like, you know, in an Unreal games, like if you play Rage, you know, you're approaching a wall and the wall hasn't fucking loaded yet. That's what it looks like.
5 people were recovering from childbirth.
It was frightening, also unexpected. The explosions began abruptly. The window handles started to tear off. Glass. Oh, my hands are still shaking, frankly speaking.
On Wednesday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky gave his annual address to the Ukrainian parliament, where he again pressed for Ukraine to join the European Union. The Biden administration's approved the sale of anti-tank mines to Taiwan, valued at $180 million. This comes after China's foreign ministry Wednesday condemned Taiwanese leaders for extending mandatory military service from 4 months to a year.
Realizing
the complete reunification of the motherland is the common will of all Chinese people. It is an unstoppable, great historic...
Very sorry about that. Got a call from the wife. Someone's going to be dropping something off in a minute, so I'll just have to go pick that up. And yeah, I got everything I wanted for Christmas, you know, except for one thing, world peace. Other than that, you know, wonderful Christmas. Still looking for that world peace, though.
Historical event. We believe Taiwan compatriots are highly principled, and they will not serve as cannon fodder for Taiwan independence separatist forces.
China's Center for Disease Control and Prevention says it stopped publishing daily updates on COVID-19 cases and will instead publish monthly figures. The change follows the abrupt cancellation of China's long-running zero-COVID policy, with tens of millions across China becoming infected each day. Videos shared on social media show emergency rooms and intensive care units overflowing with COVID patients and funeral homes crammed with the bodies of the dead. The United States will impose new coronavirus testing requirements on travelers from China. Beginning January 5th, passengers boarding U.S.-bound flights from China will be required to show proof of a recent negative COVID test. Officials...
Yeah, and you know, I don't know if I disagree with this. I think actually they should be, you know, we shouldn't allow COVID to be traveling on our airlines. And, you know, I remember people clapping at the, you know, no more masks. And it was like, you know, is COVID also clapping? You know what I mean? That's all I could think about. It's like, yay, let's open this up to to more infection. But they're paying a heavy price, Clutch Cargo. They reduced their draconian COVID restrictions, which weren't working. But they still haven't swallowed their pride and started buying vaccines that actually work. They're desperately trying to steal the formula, for the vaccines that work, and they can't. It's pathetic. They're letting tens of thousands of their own citizens die to save face, because they don't want to buy a vaccine from Pfizer, and it makes God Emperor, who can never be incorrect, look incorrect. It's so sad. It's so sad. But in terms of airlines and stuff, I think what they should, instead of removing the COVID testing, they should have streamlined it. It should be, funded by the government, should be subsidized. And it should be mandatory. If you got COVID, you shouldn't be able to fly. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Oh, my liberty? Your liberty to fucking spread the virus everywhere? What liberty is this? What are you talking about? It's a deadly fucking virus. It's killing people as we speak. There are thousands of people hooked up to respirators right now across the world, breathing their last breath. Hello? Hello? Welcome back, Rob. Welcome back, Lenny.
Italy imposed similar requirements Wednesday and urged the European Union to follow suit after half of all passengers arriving on 2 flights from China tested positive for coronavirus.
Big dog, Lenny.
The death toll from last week.
Once again, big props to your boy, Lenny. Incredibly generous donation to the Ukrainians. Thank you so much.
Weekend's historic winter storm has risen to at least 38 in western New York, the hardest hit region. As residents recover from the storm and mourn those lost, criticism against and between local leaders is mounting. Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz says he's spoken with state and county officials about taking over control of snow removal efforts from the city of Buffalo.
Incredibly tragic about what's happening in Buffalo. To answer your question, Clutch Cargo, about do I think there's going to be another COVID surge here? I don't think there's going to be a surge, but I do think that this idea that we should not take basic preventative measures in some of the most common sense ways. I'm not talking about draconian, you're forced to wear a mask while you're driving your car nonsense, right? I'm talking about, we know what works now, we know what doesn't. When COVID first started, we wasn't sure what was actually working and what wasn't. So we threw a bunch of shit against the wall. There was a lot of confusion. Fauci didn't do a very good job as a communicator. Hey, Davey, welcome back. So I don't think there's going to be a major surge, of course, unless there's a COVID mutation that, that is even more deadly and even more viral than Omicron. And there is variants after Omicron. So I don't think there's going to be a surge per se. But I do think this idea that we can just mask off everyone now that we're vaccinated, we can just catch COVID and it's going to be cool, bro. I don't think that's very wise either, because I'm seeing the death toll, and the death toll is staying pretty fucking consistent. Okay, it's the #1 killer in America now. Unsatiable. Why do I want to slap you every single time you speak? Why? How do you have this ability over me, dude? Thank you for coming back. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming back, Unsatiable. Anyways, that's my answer to your question, Clutch Cargo. Is that, I don't think we should be ignoring some of these common sense measures. And I've talked about, we don't need to mandate masks, and we don't need to mandate hand sanitizer, but the government should send every business in this fucking country free masks and free hand sanitizer and say, you need to hand these out. It's not a big deal. It's totally free. It costs you nothing. But yes, we are mandating that you make these available at every entrance, at every fucking cash register in America. We're the greatest fucking country in the world. We're the greatest fucking country in the world, right? We got big fucking bombs and big fucking balls, but we can't put some hand sanitizer, everywhere. I call bullshit. Right? So I just feel like we shouldn't be ignoring some of these extremely common sense preventative measures, right? And we don't need to mandate anything. Your dad and I had a debate. He starts as, if you make your money, you deserve to keep it. To agreeing with the wealth cap and redistribution of wealth. And he even agreed to socializing housing for everyone. Wow. So that's where he started and that's where he ended up, huh? I mean, it's a fine line between, taxation and representation, right? I mean, that was the whole revolution. But obviously taxation is a very powerful tool that can make your country incredibly powerful to I don't know. It's just such a powerful tool. I mean, look how mighty America is with its, with its military budget, in the quadrillions, and that's all because of taxes. You could also make the argument that, well, that's a horrific thing. That's a horrific machine of death. And, maybe taxes are not so great. I don't know. Maybe I'm contradicting myself. Let's get back to headlines.
Mayor's not going to be happy to hear about it, but storm after storm after storm
great
after storm.
Point, Davey.
The city, unfortunately, is the last one to be opened, and that shouldn't be the case.
Great point, Davey.
It's embarrassing, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, it is embarrassing, New York.
Been criticized for his response, accused of delaying a driving ban that could have saved lives. Buffalo Mayor Byron Brown, whom some are calling on to resign, again rejected any responsibility for his response to the tragic storm.
Again, as you know,
it's interesting, Zio, that you say that, because Zio said here it would be good to have a government-provided basic service in every industry and have the luxury stuff be sold commercially. I was talking about my wife with this about how it would actually be good in Canada to have some private healthcare companies, because they make it illegal. You can't have a private healthcare, and I was like, "There's no problem with that. You just have the public-provided stuff be the baseline." And if the private organization isn't able to provide that baseline for a competitive price, then there you go. They're priced out of that market and they don't deserve to exist as a market. But it would be good because, there's some limitations to the socialized healthcare system. It's mainly, you're prioritized based off need. And that makes perfect sense. But if you want to get a boil lanced or, some, COVID related stuff, when that was flaring up, you had to get on the list. There was no other way. You had to, call up these government organizations. And it did feel a bit limiting, and I do think, ironically, I do think actually the socialized medicine would be improved with the inclusion of a secondary private market, just for like I said, lancing boils, you got the flu, there was a program that my wife and I went to in San Francisco. It was called One Medical, and it was a subscription thing. You paid a yearly subscription, but you walked in, you got great service, immediate help. It was concierge kind of service. You were not ignored because you were a paying customer. It was really great. But the problem was they had this hospital basically right built right there in homeless downtown Castro, and they weren't helping anybody. They weren't helping anybody unless you had a goddamn subscription. So it's the exact opposite problem, right? So I think actually having both might be a great idea. Anyway, let's get back to it here. Climate, Buffalo, shame. One Buffalo. Cute.
It was a historic storm, probably the worst storm that the city has seen in over 50 years, and perhaps, maybe, the worst storm in recorded history since these storms have been tracked.
In South Dakota, the National Guard was called in to help dig out thousands of people trapped in their homes, many
I gotta stop
without
saying
power,
this is crazy,
at the
okay?
Pine Ridge and
I'm not saying
Rosebud
that anymore.
reservations, which saw at least 30 inches
This
of
is
snowfall.
nuts.
Meanwhile, federal regulators are launching an inquiry into the preparedness of U.S. power systems for extreme weather events. Climate activists say the current fossil fuel-based energy system has again revealed its unreliability. They're urging for greater investment in sustainable energy infrastructure.
Oh, no, the obvious solution is more
Jackson,
gas
Mississippi,
and oil.
residents remain under a boil water notice
destroy
after freezing
climate.
temperatures cause pipes to burst.
Renewable energies,
this is
destroy
Danielle
them.
Holmes, a volunteer at a water distribution
Oh boy, all
site
that
where
plastic.
drivers waited in long lines Wednesday.
In Jackson, Mississippi, of course, we know that this has been going on for the last 40, 50 years, and now it has reached this peak where the infrastructure is crumbling.
U.S. airports remain mired in chaos, with more flight cancellations announced. On Wednesday, over 2,800 flights were canceled, 3,200 delayed. The vast majority of the canceled flights were at Southwest Airlines, whose CEO said Wednesday it may take days to restore the airline's regular schedule. The latest delays came after the Transport Workers Union said some Southwest ground support workers developed frostbite during shifts that lasted up to 18 hours over the holiday weekend. In August, 38 state attorneys general warned in an open letter to Congress that the Department of Transportation is failing to properly regulate the airline industry. They wrote, quote, Americans are justifiably frustrated that federal government agencies charged with overseeing airline consumer protection are unable or unwilling to hold the airline industry accountable, unquote. According to the watchdog group Accountable.us, Southwest spent $5.6 billion on stock buybacks in the 3 years leading up to the pandemic, rather than making investments in infrastructure to be better prepared for extreme weather events. A federal judge in Michigan has sentenced Delaware trucker Barry Croft to nearly 20 years in prison for masterminding the foiled 2020 kidnapping plot.
This looks like Andrew Tate in 5 years, right? Look at this guy. Holy shit.
Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. It's the longest sentence handed down in the case, though prosecutors had argued
He's in
for
jail
a life
right
sentence,
now.
calling Croft the spiritual
Might be
leader of
diddling
the far-right
kids.
anti-government group of convicts.
I don't know what he's doing.
In California, David DePape, who was arrested after invading Nancy Pelosi's San Francisco home and attacking her
I love how he's drawn here. Holy shit, man. Holy shit, dude. He looks like he's sitting in front of a computer monitor. Wow. Welcome back, John Axel. Yeah, Zeoduke. No, Zeoduke is just making a point about the previous story about how, solar and wind generation, alternative renewable energy wouldn't actually be very effective in these storm-like conditions. And I was just saying in the chat that we should definitely have, both. I mean, that's the thing, is that it's not just a switch that we flip and then we're completely transitioned over. But every year we should have a goal of reducing our need for it, and then of course we should have backup systems that because it's so it's so convenient. Just turn on the generator, boom, energy. So we would be damn foolish to just cut that out of our energy grids completely. You think the airline industry lobbies Congress? Yeah, I think so. Just a little bit, just a fucking little bit. Because guess what? If Southwest were to fucking go under, its stock price were to crash, who would bail them out? The motherfucking government would. I'm so sick and tired, dude. So the government needs to buy Southwest, okay, and then turn it into a public airline. And then and then set that baseline for how much space you can cram people in and how much you can charge and all that shit. And then they could even pass regulations on fuel prices and stuff like that to make it less volatile. There's all kinds of things that they could be doing, but instead they just wait for they just let these fucking rancid corporations have a massive race to the bottom to see how many people they can cram into these fucking sardine cans. And then once they collapse, we bail them out. Like we want to keep them. Like we want them. Like this is an investment. We need to dump these fucking companies.
Husband Paul Pelosi with a hammer pleaded not guilty Wednesday to state charges, including attempted murder and assault with a deadly weapon. The far-right conspiracy theorist reportedly told police he wanted to break the House Speaker's kneecaps.
Look, and of course I disagree with this. Of course I disagree with it. But where is the enthusiasm to stop politically anyone on the right? I just feel like we don't have anybody that's like motivated. anymore. I'm not saying, of course, this is too far, obviously, and it's not very well thought out, but it's like where we need like 100 million more Chris Smalls, guys that are just like, no, this is my life. This activism is my life, and keep donating and keep pushing it, and we're gonna take this to the finish line. I just feel like we don't have enough motivated people on the left here. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Imagine the things he's looked at on the internet. You know what I mean? He got off his ass. He got off his ass.
Police. He wanted to break the House
CNN trying to
Speaker's
cancel
kneecaps.
Fox News as Fox News tries to cancel CNN.
Maryland Democratic Congressmember Jamie Raskin announced Wednesday he has lymphoma, referring to it as a serious but curable form of cancer, and will undergo treatment, including chemotherapy. Raskin was the lead impeachment manager for Trump's second impeachment following the January 6th insurrection and is on the House committee investigating the attack. He will become the top Democrat on the Oversight Committee in the new Congress. Here in New York, prosecutors in Nassau County have opened a criminal probe into George Santos after the Republican Congressmember-elect admitted he lied about his work, his education, and his family history.
This guy's
in the
nuts.
latest revelation, resurfaced social media post shows Santos wrote last year his mother died in the September 11th, 2001 attacks, only to claim months later she died in 2016. Santos has also falsely claimed Jewish ancestry and said his grandparents fled the Holocaust, lied about attending Baruch College and New York University, and lied about working at Goldman Sachs and Citigroup. On Wednesday, Santos granted his first television interview since the New York Times published its expose on Santos's lies. He spoke on Fox News with former Congressmember Tulsi Gabbard, who was sitting in for Tucker Carlson.
And we already showed we showed this clip yesterday. I guess for the entertainment purpose, we'll show it here, but I mean, you gotta be pretty pathetic, right? For the Republicans to be like, you gotta go, man. Even though like this is gonna hurt us electorally, you gotta go immediately, which is what might happen. We do see some Republicans, though, making a defense of him staying just for the simple purpose of keeping, was it 218 in the Congress, something like that, in the House?
Lies. My question is, do you have no shame? Do you have no shame in the people who
once again,
are
Tulsi
now you're
Gabbard,
asking to trust you to go and be their voice for them,
Jewish.
their families, and their kids in Washington?
Tulsi, I can say the same thing about the Democrats and the party. Look at Joe Biden. Joe Biden's been lying to the American people for 40 years. He's the president of the United States. Democrats resoundingly support him. Do they have no shame?
Dude, what about it?
Meanwhile, federal prosecutors have opened an informal investigation into George Santos's finances, if that's even his name. When Santos first ran for Congress in 2020, he listed no assets and a salary of $55,000.
Oh, that's
Yet
fascinating.
Santos
Thank you.
reported millions of dollars of income from a company he founded last year, somewhere between $3 and $11 million. And FEC filings show he loaned his most recent campaign more than $700.
If that is even his real name, bruh. Whoa! Whoa, dude. When you're so much of a charlatan, even the fascists have to kick you out, man. That is some low-ass shit. Yes, Grail of Xanath. I was just smiling at that fact. I was just grinning ear to ear. What do you think? Financial stuff? I think he's diddling teenagers. I think that's what's going on. I think, because only a teenager could be enamored with an Andrew Tate, right? Like even a 20-year-old is like, this guy's a fucking clown. This guy's a fucking clown. But a 16-year-old, right? I think he's been banging, the human trafficking. Yeah. I think he's been banging teenagers. Anyway, let me finish these headlines.
$100,000. New York Congressmember Richie Torres tweeted, quote, "Where did all that money come from? The Ethics Committee must start investigating immediately," unquote. House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy has yet to comment on the scandal. And a new lawsuit warns...
And he gets it. Wow, dude, Kevin McCarthy is in such a position, right? He needs every vote. And Santos would gladly give it to McCarthy if McCarthy's willing to legitimize him. But bro, if that's even his real name. Yeah, Clutch Cargo couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Oh, yeah.
Plastic
Real
containers used in lots of common household products contain high levels of so-called forever chemicals known by the acronym PFAS, which have been linked to cancer, liver disease, and reproductive health issues.
Gotta get rid of these.
The lawsuit says Texas-based company Enhance produces tens of millions of plastic containers, which could leach PFAS into foods, personal care products, and cleaning supplies.
We got to get rid of these chemicals.
Manufacturing.
Look at the rise of cancer. Look at the rise of use of plastics and petroleum products along with cancer. It's legit. It's legit. These fucking people have been killing us for decades. Okay? It's legit. And you gotta look at and cut the plastics out. Here I am drinking out of a plastic cup. It's impossible. But you got to do the best you can.
Giant 3M announced last week it will stop all production of PFAS by 2026 amidst a litany of lawsuits. Last month, California sued 3M and other companies for contaminating the state's drinking water, rivers, lakes, wildlife, and residents with the forever chemical.
I guess we'll have to cover
this.
this.
Headlines. This is Democracy
All right, thank
Now!
you, Amy
Democracy
Goodman.
Now.
Like I said, you don't like the Democracy Now! Too goddamn bad. You don't like the Democracy Now! Too fucking bad. Show me a better 10 minutes of headlines. Show me a better 10 minutes of headlines. You can't find it. You can't find it, and you can't find it. I guess we got to talk about Kanye and a bunch of other, and fucking Andrew Tate. Hold on. Thank you, YouTube. Like and subscribe. Check the description.